224 megabits per second was our average speed in the period from the 30th of April 2011 to October 29th, 2013. So that's the average speed across the customers on our network, and you can run the speed test if you're on the gigabit service of getting about sort of 940 megabits per second up and down. So uploading to the cloud, downloading from the cloud, working online from home as if you're in the office. I mean, all those types of things work extremely well. And why can you do that? Because basically what we do is we build a whole new fibre access network. So here's a map of our current network in Oxfordshire. So you can see down here in the Vale, in fact, I think we have a customer here as well, actually. So that's great to see that. So we have the networks here down to Frilford, Dry-Sandford, down to Garford here, and then all the way along here through Tubney. We got down to the Kingston Bagbury Business Park. I don't think there's anyone here from there. And then up into Appleton. And we're actually in the midst at the moment of doing this extension up into Farmore, which is happening as we speak. So if anyone wants to go and see fibre networks being dug in, or has driven through Farmore in the last 3 or 4 weeks, you'll have seen our traffic lights. You'll probably enjoyed them a lot. And then, in fact, we've just done our river crossing as well, and we're now coming up into Stanton Harcourt, which is where we're going to be going next. We also build networks outside Oxfordshire, but these are the ones that I guess you'll probably be most interested in at the moment. We're a private business. We're not publicly funded. In fact, we have no funding of any form at this point, other than from private investments. And making the business case work does mean we actually serve the entire community. So, because we're building a new fibre network, it means that even if you have 1 or 2 connections using the existing fibre infrastructure, which the places we go to is always from BT, because we don't go where Virgin is at the moment. So even if you have 1 or 2 fibre connections from BT's network, typically you'll take 1 or 2 connections from us as well when we go past, because it doesn't matter how much you've invested in telecoms up to now, everyone looking forward goes, well, it's just going to be much more important to my business going forward. Yeah, so this is a picture of Fifield that you probably recognise. It looks like this to everybody, doesn't it? So what those are the sort of connection points that we put in around Fifield. So when we build a community, every single property gets a connection point at its boundary. Not everybody signs up for our service to begin with, of course, because lots of people are happy with what they have right now. But for those who want something a little bit faster, they take this service. We tend to pre-sell the service into our customers, so we know that we've got enough demand and contracted revenues before we actually start building the network, and we put our own cabinets in. And then actually the way we build our fibre network is that every property has a fibre running directly to it, so it has its own fibre. So that means that at some point in the future, when this person living over here decides that they're going to actually build a data centre in their garden and they need a terabit of capacity, no problem at all, off we go. Ours is an access network only, so we build the fibre and provide internet access. We don't provide any applications that run over the top. So the customers, whether they're business or consumer, tend to use lots of other things. They buy and use lots of other services from other people. So to make that work, we have various different types of partners that we work with. For example, we don't provide telephone service. So you might think that's odd. We're going and building a new network and we're not providing telephone service. Why not? Because we're never going to get to the scale of someone like BT. We're never going to get to the scale of someone like Virgin. So it's never going to be a business that we can effectively compete in. Because we provide services to homes and businesses and enterprises. So the decision we made is that we'll build the best possible access network, the best possible fibre access network, and then make it easy for people to choose whichever services they want over the top. Now, often that means if you're a business, and it's a business audience here, you'll want to work with your service provider who you're currently working with. Who might be providing you with, like STL, providing you with your telephone services, with access to cloud applications. Or might be maintaining or operating your IT systems, but we're completely happy with that as a way of doing business. We don't feel we need to own the entire relationship for it to work for us. So we're very happy just to provide the fibre access and internet access over the top. Oh, and you can see the types of problems that we're solving. I mean, this is one of the biggest ones if you live in rural areas. Your mobile phone doesn't work half the time. which people in London just can't really understand. They just don't get the fact that mobile phones really don't work very well in rural areas, especially when you're inside buildings. So sure signal, and actually you can now get sometimes the equivalent from the other network operators as well, lets you run your own little base station inside the building. And I think that's going to be huge business in the future, with people making lots and lots of their phone calls from their mobile device, even though they're using a fixed number on it. We actually, okay, this is a bit of a sort of boring techie slide, but what it's trying to show you is we have an inclusive IT system that runs our business that allows us to work with lots of other types of service providers. So you don't necessarily have to buy your service direct from us, you can buy it from third parties. And as we continue to get bigger, there'll be more and more third parties, possibly like STL and others, down the left-hand side. We use an aggregation platform from a company called Fluidator, based up in Docklands, who allow us to access lots of different service providers. But basically, we have sort of put systems in place to make it easy for you to buy your internet access from wherever you want to. Just to give you an idea of some of the pricing, now all of this is available on our website, so it's not secret, it's completely public. But here's the sort of home packages. So for £37 a month, the bit on the right-hand side, including VAT, you get a home 50 product. So that's 50 meg up, 50 meg down, contended at 25:1. So pretty good service. For those of us who'd like to spend a bit more time on it, for £69 a month, you can have the full 1,000 meg up and down. It actually won't quite get to 1,000 megabits a second because of the problems that you'll have with the protocols on your equipment, but almost gets to 1,000. As you saw, we've had 940 on the service I was showing earlier. But anybody who needs it can, for £4.80, get 48 hours boost to the top speed. So, kind of neat feature. And then business products, lower contention rates. So these are all contended at 10:1 as opposed to 25:1. So that's better. Lower is better in contention. And again, these are VAT inclusive prices, so you can drop your VAT off when you're looking at it. And they come with a higher service wrap. So lower contention, so better quality product, and higher service wrap, so they get fixed quicker than priority if anything ever goes wrong. But again, still starting from £59 for a 50 meg symmetric, going up to $499 for 1,000 meg symmetric. So these are contended products, but still very competitive in the marketplace. And finally, we have a set of enterprise products. These are uncontended. These are the equivalent of leased lines with internet access. Yep, so it's not a point-to-point lease line. We don't provide that service. You could make a virtual point-to-point service if you had two ends in our network, but you basically have to buy two individual ends and then plug them together yourself using a VPN. You could do that, but we don't actually sell those types of products today. And again, these are uncontended products. This is dedicated for the use of your business, starting at £290 and going up to £19,090 per month. But that is for 10,000 megabits per second symmetric internet access dedicated to you. Actually a cracking good price, but still quite a lot of money. Again, you'd probably be running a data center of some quite substantial size to need that type of connection. So that's what we do, whistle-stop tour, and there are faster and better speeds available out there, and we're delighted to be one of the people providing it. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matthew. I've got a question for Matthew, actually, which I hope will be helpful, but before I ask it, I just think Gigaclear is a great example of, we can all moan about how frustrating broadband and mobile access is and so on, but these guys are actually doing something about it. I can remember we were both at a broadband event a couple of months ago in Cowley, and it was the European head of some nonsense that was going on about, I just got quite cross in it actually, it was driving me bananas hearing all this mumbo jumbo. And somebody was sitting near to you, said something, referenced Gigaclear, and said, but Matthew's actually doing something about this with his own money. Now, I know, of course, which is, if I want to come to the question, there is a funding model that you obviously work towards. But I think it's brilliant that Oxfordshire Business is actually just getting on with it and literally digging up the roads. We had a proper chat for the first time about a month ago. I said, do you actually dig the roads up? I said, that's just brilliant. So I don't know how you even get to the point where you can dig a road up, but I just think that's great. So, so the question I wanted to ask actually, would probably just be helpful, just so we can get a bit of a view on it, is when you mentioned earlier on, Matthew, that you there is the funding model, and if you get enough commitment from a community, from from a residential perspective. Do you want to just sort of shed a little bit of light on roughly what that looks like? So if you take a village in Oxfordshire isn't currently Gigacleared,
yes.
What would they actually have to do to make that work?
Okay, so again, this is on the website, so it's not secret. Basically, we're looking for communities that, in aggregate, across maybe multiple villages, have at least 400 properties in them, and that's business and residential and enterprise. So it's all the properties. Actually, we look for clusters that we can string together where there's between 1,000 and 2,000 properties in total. But but they'll be sort of we build them in phases. And we look for a commitment of at least 30% of the properties in the community agreeing to pre-signing and taking service. And again, you can see that on our website. We have what we call gigameters that show you for the different communities that we're currently actively marketing in. It shows you how far they've got towards the target that we've agreed with them that they need to reach. We just in the last few weeks announced another 12 villages in Kent that we're starting work on now, and we'll actually break ground in the last week of January. And there'll be some more announcements shortly.
Yeah, fantastic. So what was between, if you take that example in Kent, the dozen villages in Kent, what was the lead time between the if you like, getting to above the 30% threshold and, as you say, breaking ground in January?
Yeah, they were about medium, so they took about 9 months for that whole marketing process. Because we go through a number of different steps where we try and work out, is it likely to be successful? Then we start taking expressions of interest, and then we go into the sort of order-taking phase. The fastest one we've done is Farmall, which is 5.5 months from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And the longest so far is actually Stanton Harcourt, which has taken just over 15 months so far. To get to the target. And there are other things that people do as well. Obviously, we're a privately funded business, so there are communities who've come along and said, well, we'll not only get you the 30% of the properties, but we'll organise a local bond and raise the money to actually build the network as well. And funnily enough, that goes down extremely well with me. They go right to the top of the list.
That's the buy on half market option. Is there any other specific questions on that? Yeah, please go for it.
What sort of commitments are you looking for from the people who sign up to?
It's a 15-month commitment.
To begin with, and thereafter?
Well, so actually the way we work is they sign a standard contract, and it's a 12-month minimum period with a 3-month rolling notice period. So it's a 15-month minimum commitment on either business or residential.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else for now? Excellent.